just give them a few moments to come, and then we can proceed.
Jeff?
Yes, Asma?
Jamal actually has another meeting right now,
Okay.
so he would like to leave.
No problem.
And if there are any questions, I could give the email address that you can address the questions to.
No problem. Kindly, Asma, just kindly type on the chat the email address for Mr. Jamal. And is Ann around?
Aisha, you're not muted. Kindly mute yourself, Aisha. Okay. If the Jeff, are you around? Please mute everyone. Okay, as we wait for everyone else to join, I'd like to just ask us all to participate in another activity as we wait, just so that we can see if we have the correct statistics. You should be able, if you look at the bottom of your screen, you should see a reactions panel. So there are two reactions. There's a thumbs up and there's a clap. So first thing I'd like to ask is, I have a few questions for you guys as the audience. Have you ever felt as though someone has verbally said things about you that you weren't comfortable with? If so, please put your thumbs up. Okay. Thank you for your honesty. All right. That is almost everybody. If you have felt or seen a friend of yours be abused in any way, whether sexually or verbally or non-verbally, kindly put a thumbs up. Okay. All right. And kindly put your thumbs up again if you feel as though you yourself have taken steps to make sure that this doesn't happen in your respective university, class, or spoken up about it in any way. Kindly put your thumbs up. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. So I think it's important for those who weren't able to attend the previous session. Hi, Jeff. See you back. I'll just recap everything that was said to us. So our first speaker told us that you should be able to use, I think actually both speakers told us that it's important for us to speak up on all our social medias, whether it's your personal one or through your organization which you're part of. I know most of us here are from Kenyan, but the other law societies and other things that we can use to make a change from this moment on and forward. And it doesn't have to be much, but it just includes speaking up. If you're under a place where you are faced with someone who is trying to do that to you, distract them or get help if you can, and follow up with the necessary litigation should that happen. If Anna's come back, she was supposed to tell us different ways we can do that, but I know we have some law students here. So if you are a law student and you have any ideas in which we can do that, I'd ask you to kindly raise your hand. And then after that, I'd like to ask Elsie Candy and Samuel Mandwa, who are in charge of ICJ and the PJ of this session, to kindly tell us more. But for now, if you are a law student or you have heard of someone who has been able to get past that, kindly raise your hand and we will allow you to speak as you say different ways we can do this. So kindly, if there's anyone who would like to speak up on this, you can go ahead and raise your hand. Okay, I see the Deputy PDA has raised their hand. If you could ask her or allow her to unmute, we can go through that. Okay, so
Hello?
yeah, can you speak?
Yes, yes,
Awesome.
now I can.
Go ahead.
Well, I hope you're all doing fine. So my name is Esther Kimani. I'm also a law student at the University of Nairobi. And one of the ways that I feel as a law student that I would recommend when it comes to speaking out against sexual violence is not only us using our social media platforms, but also making sure, since most of us are in universities and most of these things happen when we are in campus, you have to make sure that you are in touch with your student leaders at all times, especially your female student leaders. Taking it from a perspective where I was a student leader at once, so I would prefer, because most of the time these instances either happen during the evenings or when sometimes the student leaders are not around. So we need people to be vocal and come and tell us about them, because sometimes, and I would really understand, sometimes the school administrations are not really keen on listening to sexual harassment cases, because they're always like, it's my word against the guys, and sometimes it becomes a whole messy issue. So I would really recommend that whenever these instances happen, you have to make sure that, one, you are in touch with your student leaders who are able to make it vocal to the school administration. That way, even when it comes to drafting policies on sexual harassment issues in school, it's much easier because we have the perfect statistics for that. And another thing is, whenever you're called to submit or to give voices or to give analysis towards how to improve sexual harassment policies in your schools, kindly participate, because it doesn't make sense that when these policies are being drafted, the students who are supposed to be protected by them are not there to say how exactly these things happen. You know, you might find even sometimes even the school staff is involved in this kind of messy issues. So whenever these policies, there's a call for improvement of these policies, I would really encourage you to participate. And another thing, always speak out. Doesn't really matter. And I think this, I will really address it to the guys especially, because just because you haven't done it yourself doesn't make it any easier. Okay, it doesn't make you a less victim, a less criminal. It doesn't make you any more innocent. The fact that you stood by and watched a girl get spanked in public, the fact that you stood by and probably even laughed when one of your friends sexually harassed a girl by telling her she has a small bum, doesn't make it doesn't make you any more innocent. You have to call out people, and that is the first thing that I need us to understand. You can't just sit by and watch it happen. It doesn't work like that, because what happens is these sexual assaulters feel more encouraged because they have done it before you and they have not faced any repercussions. They will feel it's much better and easier for them to actually do it. So make sure you speak out whenever these things happen, because they happen in public. if a woman being spanked doesn't happen only in private, it's also in public. So you have to make sure that you speak out and call out the person. And I'm not saying it in a, like, do it in a violent way, but make sure that that person understands that it is not right for them to do it. Because probably they are raised in societies where they have found it easier for them to actually do this to their women. So they feel it's even better to do it to other women. So you have to show them that that doesn't work like that. Yeah, I think those are the three that I had. Yes. Michelle, I can hand it over to you.
Thank you so much, Essie. Essie, you also didn't introduce yourself. Let me unmute you 1 second.
Sorry. Sorry. My apologies. My name is Esther Kimani. I am the Deputy President of the General Assembly and of the Kenya Model United Nations, and as well as a law student at the University of Nairobi.
Okay, thank you so much for your comment and calling us to action, actually. Anne, hi, how are you? Let me just unmute you 1 moment. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
I'd like to say that Essie and I went to the same high school and uni together, so I'm happy to see her here.
Okay, that's great. So Anne, I'd like to ask you to do one thing. As I ask you a question or as someone else asks you questions, kindly mute yourself if that's okay, because there's a small back lag or something. Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. So guys, I see. Okay, Esther, I think you're done asking your question. So I'd ask you to lower your hand if that's true. Comrade Isaka, you have a question, I see. Kindly switch on your video. Okay, great. Let me unmute you. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Isaac, alias Comrade Isaka. And I don't really have a question, but just a view. And I have an opinion that I think women, at some point, women do enjoy being victimized. And a good example is the vixens, video vixens, in the videos that people are producing locally and even internationally. And naturally, we will agree that women are trained to see themselves as cheap imitations of fashion photography and videography, rather than seeing the fashion photography and videography as cheap imitation of themselves. And you will agree with me that men will always act and women will appeal. And women normally watch themselves being looked at. And this has always determined not only most relations between men and women, but also the relation to women themselves. So the survey of a woman is in herself. The survey of a woman is always a man, and thus that has always turned women into objects, and most particularly an object of vision, and should we call it maybe a sight. And I will tell you for the fact that most women hate being admired by men they don't fancy. Women, in fact, love being objectified by men they are into and the men that they fancy. If you fit a man's checklist of rich, handsome, tall, dark, witty, or whatever, then there is no objectification.
Kindly keep your questions and statements short.
Yeah,
it is not about agenda, it is about power dynamics. That is my opinion. Thank you.
Do you have a question that you would like to ask Anne? Okay, and we're willing to hear your words on this topic.
I was saying that, is it true that women do enjoy objectification, basing on my thesis that I just explained?
Can I respond to him?
Yes, you may.
Okay, first and foremost, Comrade Isaka, you are everyone is entitled to a view, but you cannot give a view when you're not the person in those shoes. You cannot say that women like to be objectified when you are not a woman yourself. You do not understand what women go through when they are objectified. You do not understand the struggle. No? You do not understand struggle that women go through when they're being objectified, be it online or not online. Whether it comes from a person you fancy or not, it is still sexual harassment when you are when it is unwelcomed and inappropriate. So when you talk about video vixens and putting themselves out there, it is, as I said earlier, it's not about having good men in society who will not objectify people. It's having normal men in society. So if you objectify young girls and want to look at someone about and talk about their physical attributes, it means you're an abnormal person.
Thank you, Anne. We appreciate that comment. Kwame Saka, I think from that you don't have anything else to say, if I'm not wrong. Or do you?
Actually, I concluded my statement by saying that I still believe it is not about it is not about the gender. It is about the dynamics. A woman will always complain when a compliment, when a spank is coming from a person they don't fancy. But if it is from a person they fancy, they take it positively. That is my stuff.
Are you from any given KMUN chapter, or are you just a guest for today's talk?
Sorry?
Are you from any given Kenyan university affiliated with the Kenya Model United Nations?
Yes, yes.
Which chapter? Which university are you affiliated with? Okay, we'll move on to another person. I saw a question from someone by the name of, just a moment, someone by the name of Rene Gidwi. If kindly you can turn on your video and microphone and ask the question that you had wished to ask.
Hi, could the person kindly raise their hand if it was them who...
Oh.
Yeah, it's you, Rennie, right?
Yeah, it is. It's me. Hi.
Okay, cool.
So I have a question for Anne. I hope everyone can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Seeing that there's so much stigma and fear surrounding the victims of sexual harassment, I would just like Anne to recommend ways that we as a society can encourage these victims to speak up more. Because what happens a lot is that after people speak up, most people are told, oh, you're seeking attention, it's not true. So I would just like her to recommend ways that we could break through this stigma. Yeah.
I think that's a very good question. A lot of young women are unable to come out clearly and say that I am a victim of sexual harassment because of the fear that they think maybe their parents will find out and maybe won't look at them the same way, or the society will treat them differently. But I think it's all about changing our perception, the culture that is in Kenya, that if you are a victim of sexual harassment, you are stained in some way. And that's the first and foremost thing that we should do. One is change the perception that is in Kenya by educating people that it is not right for people to do such things to people. Just the other day, I read in the newspaper that the governor of which county was talking about there is a lot of female genital mutilation in his county. And that is something that is wrong. That is part of sexual harassment, because we have moved from an age where female genital mutilation is okay and is normal, but you find that people are still not talking about those things. So the first thing to do is educate the people in our society to know that sexually harassing people is wrong. Just like the way Comrade Isaka said, if you listen to what Comrade Isaka was speaking about, it shows you that there is a deep-rooted thing in people's heads that women want to be sexually harassed, and we do not want to be sexually harassed. He said that girls want to be spanked by someone that they fancy, but it is not true. If someone you fancy does that to you, that is sexual harassment, and you should leave that person immediately, because it starts with one thing and it will escalate to bigger, greater things. So we need to educate our people that it is not right, educate our girls that you can speak up, and there are hotlines in Kenya that talk about that you can call whenever you feel that you've been harassed or you have gone through any kind of violence sexually, and they will help you and guide you and counsel you and help you in those ways. So it doesn't have to be that you come out so clearly if you're afraid, but you can seek for help when you are facing any form of sexual harassment.
Thank you, Anne, for the comment, and I hope, Renee, your question has been answered. Leila Mwangi, I saw you have a question, and if you have more questions, kindly just put them on the chat. I will respond to them. Thank you. Leila?
So my question was to Anne, and I would like to ask, what's your opinion on marital rape not being considered a crime in Kenya?
First and foremost, I've just gotten the hotline for SGBV, that's sexual gender-based violence. The hotline is 1195, and you can call that number at any time if you feel that you have been defiled in any way, if you're a victim of rape or any kind of violence or any sort of female violence. You can call that number and they'll be able to assist you and help you. The next thing would be about marital rape. My opinion and what I believe is that rape is when someone has coitus with you and it is not mutual. For as long as it's not mutual, that is rape, and you can seek for help, because a lot of women in our society used to be covered by the blanket of, as long as we are married, it is okay, even if I don't want to, but it led to a lot of violence. So for as long as it is not mutual, it is not consented, it is rape, whether it's in marriage or not.
Thank you so much, Anne. I've seen a hand from Kimani Njoroge. Might you be having a question, Kimani?
Yes, good evening, everyone. I'm Kimani Njoroge, a law student at Moi University. I would just like to make some suggestions, which I observed during my judicial attachment when the issue of gender harassment comes up. And one thing that institutions should aspire to do is like publish like notices around. That's what I saw at Eldoret Law Courts. I would also advise people in institutions or students, because in most of the institutions, I believe that there are discussion groups, there are religious groups, there are all kinds of groups. And during those groups, people discuss various issues. So if an issue of gender-based violence or harassment, it should also be made a topic during those discussions, so that just on how to tackle the problems may assist you in such a problem. That was my suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. If you may unmute your microphone. Okay.
Yes, I'd like to say that according to the Employment Act, Section 6, it provides that every employer, and I believe institution that has more than 20 people there, they should have a policy against sexual harassment. And if there's no policy against sexual harassment, that is in contravention with the law. And there's even a case that the court ruled that if there is no policy installed, the employer or the management are held liable for whatever happens. So yes, what he has talked about, when you're in court, there was a policy. Each and every institution has a policy. And what I would advise the young girls or boys who are here is find out the policy that is in your institution, whether you're in Moi University or UON or KU, there is a policy against sexual harassment. And it details out the process that you can take in order to get help if you're being sexually harassed. So people should not keep quiet. There is help out there.
Thank you, Anne. And I'll move on to Martin Kyoko, who has a question. Kindly unmute your microphone, Martin.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Martin Kyoko. I am the president of the Council of Representatives, and I also serve as the Undersecretary General for KMUN in KU Parklands. So my question is addressed to Anne, of course, and it's regarding dressing. So I would like to ask whether there's a place for dressing when it comes to sexual harassment. And this is actually premised on the fact that I want you to tell us whether, do you agree that there's some form of dressing that you consider indecent, whether from both men and women, and whether I personally agree that dressing should not be a reason for sexual harassment, but do you think that this could be a trigger to sexual harassment, and you agree that there is indecent dressing in both men and women? Thank you.
Dressing is a personal choice. You decide what you want to wear every single day, and it's a personal choice. You decide, I want to do this and I want to not do this. It has always been a blanket, again, as I have said before, that men used to say, she was dressed provocatively, that's why I did A, B, C, and D. You should have self-control. You should be able to see someone and leave that person alone for however they have dressed. I would not encourage young people to also dress provocatively, but to the young men or even the old men in society, don't say that she was dressed provocatively, that's why I couldn't control myself and I sexually harassed her, or I tore her clothes off, or did something like that. So for me, dressing is a personal choice. People should dress however they please. It is important to be decent, and for how you dress determines how people take you and how people interact with you. But it shouldn't be a thing that people say, she was dressing in a provocative manner, that's why I abused her.
Thank you so much, Anne. Okay.
That was dressed provocatively.
Okay. We have a question from Gloria. Gloria, if you could kindly raise up your hand and also turn on your mic.
These came back from a search.
I'm trying to find Gloria, just a moment. Or we'll move to Rebecca Muturi for the moment as I try to trace Gloria. Rebecca?
Hi guys. This question goes to Anne, and I had typed it. Okay. So Anne, can we talk about sexual harassment if we can't? Can we even talk about sexual harassment against women if we are not able to talk about male privilege? And I want to thank all the gentlemen in the forum. Thank you for showing up and giving us support. I will personally be sure to show up for anything that is male involved. Thank you.
It is not possible to talk about sexual harassment without talking about male privilege, which starts when a young boy is born into a household where there are girls and there are boys, and girls are told, go to the kitchen, stay in the kitchen, while the boy is left to watch cartoon all day. They feel that their ego grows, and they grow knowing that they are greater than women, and therefore you find a situation where when they grow up, they will not fully respect women, and that's why you will hear some say that she wanted me to sexually harass her because she fancies me. It is because there is male privilege in the society that men feel that they can sexually harass people. But then again, I'd like to tell you that sexual harassment is not only affect women, it also affects men. So this conversation should be a conversation for all of us, not just women alone, because men too are sexually harassed. You can find in the workplace your boss is a woman, or your lecturer is a woman, and you're a boy, and she fancies you and she tries to sexually harass you. So sexual harassment is both male and female, but we cannot talk about it without talking about male privilege. So as I was saying, we need to change the culture in which our society is based. We value boys more. We treat them as if they are kings in the house. So when they go out here, they have that sense of being a king. And when maybe a girl doesn't accept them, they will harass them so that they can accept them, because they're used to getting their way and getting whatever they want. So we cannot talk about sexual harassment without talking about male privilege, which is inculcated into our society but needs to change.
Thank you so much, Anne. And before we proceed to other questions, I personally have a question for you, Anne. Let's take a scenario whereby a male person has been accused falsely for having sexually harassed, or rather raped, a woman. And he served time in jail. Let's call it 5 to 6 years as an example. But later onwards, the woman comes and says it wasn't him, or the accusation was false. What do you think should be done now, taken from a woman's perspective, if you can kindly answer that?
I think I saw that case. It happened in the US, right? Whereby a man was falsely imprisoned for a couple years, I think 5 years or more. And the woman later comes and says, "I'm sorry, but he did not actually rape me. I was confused at the time." It is very unfortunate that such things happen, but that's why there is the law in place. And before someone is convicted, there is a certain level of guilty that this person should be able to, we can say that this person is guilty, so this is why this person is convicted. So it just means that maybe the justice system was unfair to that person. I think in that case, it's because the guy was black and the woman was white, and that's why we saw him being imprisoned. But if it was a fair justice system, I think he would have been let free, because there would have not been enough evidence to support the claim that he had sexually harassed that girl. But in normal cases, people usually appeal cases, such cases where you feel like you are you are sentenced wrongly. You can appeal and get a good lawyer who can help you. And yes, to young women, or any person who would accuse someone of rape, know that you're not only affecting them, you're affecting their families, you're affecting their parents and people who believe in them, you're affecting their careers, because they'll forever have a record that they sexually have abused someone. So again, tukuwe na utu kama watu, tusiharibu maisha ya watu. Men don't sexually harass people. Ladies, do not accuse someone falsely.
Thank you so much, Anne, for the response. And now we shall move to Gloria. Gloria, kindly unmute your microphone.
Hi, so I just needed a clarification, because like when I think it's Isaka Comrade, I'm sorry, I don't remember the name quite clearly, when he was making his comments on sexual advancement, he said that some women accept these things from men they like, but they don't in men they don't like. So in my understanding of sexual harassment is when sexual advancements are given to a lady or a woman and she doesn't welcome them. I mean, if I like a guy and he does something to me, like let's say spanking and whatever, and it's actually a welcome thing, because I remember Ann saying, if a guy does that to you, he has sexually harassed you and you should leave. So like, if these are acts that I have embraced as a person, like I have welcomed them, I've allowed him to do them to me, and I don't see a problem with it. How exactly does that amount to sexual harassment? I just need a clarification on that. And secondly, I also wanted to ask about like the dress code. Does it mean that the society, okay, if that will amount to victim blaming, why am I saying that? If I accept the sexual advancements from this guy because I like him and that's okay with me, and if somebody else does the same and I don't like it, does it mean that it's because I'm welcoming this other guy because I actually like what he's doing, but I don't like what this other one is doing? So like I just want a clear outline of what sexual harassment is, and then also on the dress code. Thank you.
I didn't quite get the question about the second question. I had the first one about being unwelcomed. What I said was, if you're in the workplace or in an institution and someone wants to congratulate you, and they congratulate you by saying, congratulations, that's okay. But if they spank you and it's a workplace or an institution and say congratulations by spanking you, then that was not okay. But I did say that sexual harassment is unwelcome and inappropriate. Sexual advances or any kind of advance that is not welcomed and is inappropriate. The second question, I really didn't get it. It was about dressing. I didn't get the second question. Can you kindly repeat the second question? But the first one, for as long as it is unwanted, you have not welcomed that advance or whatever that person has done, then it becomes sexual harassment. But if it's your boyfriend and you're totally okay with that, then it is not sexual harassment.
Okay, so my second question on dress code. And if you're saying that we should try and dress decently, I felt like it's more of a victim blaming situation. That means there's so much moral decadence in the society that there can no longer be good men. A woman cannot dress in any way that she wants and feel sexy without actually being sexually harassed. I feel like if we are saying that women should dress in a certain way in order to be decent and all that, we are giving way. It's like we are welcoming this, you know. If a woman just walks out, and if I look at the, okay, I'm sorry for using this example, but like if you look at the Kim Kardashians and all the celebrities, they're allowed to walk in public wearing all that sexy whatever. So if I just feel like, oh, today I want to wear this, and then I'm sexually harassed, and then you say I should try and dress decently, isn't that more of giving an excuse for what men are doing? And I don't feel like there should be any excuses. There should be a boundary, like, you're not allowed to touch me. I can dress like this and walk because it's my body and I don't feel like this. Yeah, just that.
I totally agree, and that's why I said in the first place, dressing is a personal choice. You decide what to wear, and I also cautioned men not to use it as a blanket by saying that she was dressed this way, that's why I sexually harassed that person. Secondly, I would like to just negate what you just said. The Kardashians wear like that because in their society and in their culture, it is normal for people to wear like that. I'm not saying in any way that if you dress in a certain way, you are dressing inappropriately. I'm just saying that in our society right now, how with the values that are in Kenya, I would not per se say that if you walk out in a bikini, you know, in the US, you can walk out in a bikini and go to the supermarket and come back. In Kenya, walking out in a bikini and going to the supermarket is not necessarily okay, just because of the values that I think are enshrined in our country. And I can say it that way. But as I said again, dressing is a personal choice. If someone wants to dress like that and go out there and they feel comfortable doing it, let them be. And men respect women and their boundaries. Let there be boundaries. Do not say that she cannot dress in a certain way, or she was dressed in a certain way which made me sexually abuse that person. It is not right. Dressing is personal. The society needs to embrace that. But then again, we are also in Kenya. It's quite different. Yes.
Thank you so much, Anne, and thank you to Gloria for your question. Francis, kindly ask your question and turn on your microphone, please. Francis, sorry, just a moment. Kindly proceed.
Okay, hi. My name is Kathy, not Francis, from St. Andrews, Story. I am also a founder of Voices Against Violence. And my question goes to Anne, or rather like a comment. So many cases have come to me, and since the pandemic, we cannot engage with the police directly or people, especially now that I'm far from home. So I direct them to the hotlines, and the hotlines are slow. They have tended to be slow. To the people that I have told them to go to, they've not gotten help immediately. They take days. And also, I have like a comment, slightly. It was something that I was talking to with a friend. The friend happens to be a male, and the male counterpart said it was on a topic, and he said, it is fascinating. It fascinates how our leaders may take their opportunity or their positions to give ladies positions through sexual demands. And apparently it was fascinating. It's something that he's looking forward to do when he is at his time, when he becomes someone like a leader. What are we going to do to educate the society to respect our counterparts, either the male or the female? This is a generational thing that is happening so far, because they've seen their fathers do it. How will we stop this so that our children will not do it in the end? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anne.
First and foremost, it's very important that you've talked about the hotline having a lot of backlog, and sometimes cases are not heard on time. And I think that it's the reason as to why such a webinar is important, because when we talk about it, we are creating awareness about it, and the government will see that there are people who are doing something about it. We need to keep on putting pressure in the government to allocate more resources to such things, so that whenever young women, old women, or anyone is calling the hotline, there are people to respond to those people. We find that the hotlines maybe have just 2 people working on it, and you are supposed to answer calls from people